Hi guys, this is Alan from Aqua Clearwater SA. Thank you for joining me today. It's a very cold day in Johannesburg. There's snow in the mountains and it's freezing. But I'd just like to talk to you today about overfeeding fish. Fish feeding a hobby or looking after our aquariums. It is one of the major causes of fish deaths in our aquariums. Cold water fish, tropical fish, it's one of the major causes of fish deaths. And we just need to learn a little bit about fish feeding, because we tend to overdo it, especially if you don't know much about it, and especially if you're a newcomer to this hobby. I remember as a little guy having a fish bowl and having my first goldfish, and I'd come home and the little thing will do a little dance for me, and it'll be my little pal, and I'll feed it 6-7 times a day, and then the food it didn't eat would go down to the bottom, and then water would start to smell, and I didn't know much about changing water those days, but every day it'll do a little bit of a jiggle for me, but I was overfeeding the fish. And eventually there was ammonia spikes, and obviously the fish died from whatever overfeeding and ammonia spikes, and this kept on going for a long time. And then eventually I found out I was overfeeding my fish. I don't know why or what was happening, but there are certain diseases that come from it, and we get fin rot, from it. We get fatty liver tissue syndrome that usually happens within cichlids from overfeeding. That the food goes, if you overfeed your fish, the food they don't eat, as we know, goes down to the bottom. And if your filters aren't taking that out, or if you haven't got if your systems aren't working properly, that food is going to rot and cloud your water, and it's going to cause ammonia spikes, and that is going to burn your fish's gills, and your fish are going to die from that. So we don't want to overfeed our fish. We know in the wild, fish are hunters. When the water gets stirred up, every now and then they go for whatever they can find, and they don't have to eat every day. Sometimes they don't eat every day. They eat maybe 2-3 times a week. We know that in the tropics, where the fish have faster metabolisms, they eat a lot more, or whatever they can find, because they're more active. Like our fish here in the tropic, where it's a tropical tank, they're more active. Whereas the alpine forests in Austria and Alaska, we in winter the water freezes over, and the fish's metabolism slow down completely, and they don't eat at all. They may eat a little bit. I'm not too sure how much they eat, but they don't eat very much at all. So fish can survive off their fatty reserves. We know that little fish, little fingerlings or fry, need more food, because they need to build up their fatty reserves. And all our fish farmers and our local fish keepers, or our local breeders, they have their way of feeding their fish. And especially if you're importing fish, like our retail businesses that are importing fish, they feed their fish, they give them a higher content of what we should give them, obviously, because they need to fatten them up a little bit. They don't want to send the fish over here, which may take a week or two. I don't know, I don't think a week or two, but sometimes over a week. And they don't want the fish to arrive here all looking all skinny and sick and whatever, so they will overfeed the fish a little bit. But we know that little fish need to be fed more. But once they're big, they don't need that anymore. We need to watch our fish, people. We need to watch them and understand them. And it doesn't mean to say you have to sit in front of your fish tank for half an hour every single day. Just observe what's going on. Observe what they look like. Observe the color they have in them. Observe the way they are swimming. Some fish get constipated. We can do something about that. There's a natural laxative, which is a tannin. You can take a piece of wood and put it in your fish tank, and that cleans their systems out. I let my fish fast once a week, which is good for their system. Intermittent fasting, as we all know, is good for everything. for all of us, for animals, for everything, intermittent fasting. I mean, you understand a lion in the bush eats maybe every 5 or 6 days. They'll do a major hunt and gorge themselves on it and then just rest. Nothing in nature eats every single day. Nothing in nature can find food every single day. Look, we know antelope and that wherever there is food, but some have to track through hundreds of kilometers without food and find water. So we need to get out of this habit of overfeeding our fish, because we are doing them a disfavor by overfeeding them. They look so cute. You feel so sorry for them. They do their little dance for you, and they are so hungry, but they're opportunists. They will eat and eat and eat and eat until they pop. So you need to know how to feed them. You need to speak to someone. You need to read up about it. You need to go to your local fish guy or local fish lady who's got a fish store, and find out how they feed their fish, and how they when they feed their fish, and what they feed their fish, because you can be buying food that is it could be imported stuff, and you can read at the back there, and they put it at the back what they've got, and if it says it's fish oil, it's fine. But if it says vegetable oil content, please don't buy that, because it's just a way of skimping on money, and it's not good for your fish. You need to buy something with the real fish oil in it. I know it's expensive, but you can get local stuff. It's cheaper. You can make your own stuff. I make my own stuff. Fish a lot of them are omnivorous, so they'll eat vegetable content like your spinach or your cucumber. My fish years ago, when this tank was running for about 2 years, when I cleaned it out, I found a whole lot of worms. They'll dig in that substrate and find little worms. My clown loaches eat the snails. There's always something for them to eat. There's always algae to eat. There's always something. So guys, see what you are feeding your fish. See how much you're feeding your fish. Give them a diversity of fish food, because their systems need a diversity. They're not living in the wild. They're living in unnatural states that we're trying to make into a natural state. So feed them in a clear, or give them a substantial amount. That they always say, if you're feeding your fish, let it last for 30 seconds to 1 minute. If there's fish left over, you're overfeeding them. And why give your fish food twice a day if the fish is good? If the fish is not, if the fish food is not good, why give them fish food twice a day? Feed them once a day. If the fish food is good, give them fish food once a day, and enough that they will consume in a minute or so. If you make a mistake, it's not a problem. Don't let them eat the next day, or if they overeat, it's not a big problem. But just don't keep on doing it, because eventually you're going to land up with problems. Okay, guys, thank you for joining. I hope you learned a little bit from that. I had to learn. Everyone has to learn. Everyone goes through these learning patterns, and people lose fish through it. You find that your water will become cloudy all of a sudden, then you'll start to worry, what else is it? But it's maybe not that. Maybe it's just overfeeding your fish. Okay, guys, please subscribe and hit the like button. And if you have any questions or any suggestions, just let me know. It's always been nice to know. Okay, but it's been good talking to you. Thanks. Cheers.